Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shah Ramadan Mubarak to everyone watching at home. My name is Ryan Morgan Christensen. With me we have Sayyid Ali, Sayyid Adalah, and Brother Ahmed. This is, I believe, the fourth installment. Yes, the fourth installment of our series on the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the previous episode, just to recap, we had the first episode, we discussed the various definitions of the term Sahabah in relation to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and from Sunni scholars. We also talked about the implications if one was to curse or defame one of or numerous companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we also talked about how far or how intense or how severe the punishment it would exactly be if there was one for cursing any of these people, especially when it comes to the Shia doing it. Sorry, just go check my note. And also we talked about whether the concept at all would be deemed kufr, just to even do it at all. So, today we've got, as I said before, the brothers. I want Sayyid Ali, I believe you wanted to open.
Sorry, I was on mute. So yeah, sorry, I'm just getting used to this laptop. I just got it back after it's been repaired, so hopefully it's not going to fail me. So yeah, just coming back onto Ryan's point about what we previously covered, we covered different definitions of what a Sahaba is, and we can see that the understanding of who is a companion and one who's in companionship of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family. This term doesn't have nothing. It's not a positive term. It's not a negative term. We understand that obviously when it comes to the Tabi'i, they had a different understanding of who a companion is. In fact, the companions themselves, they had a different understanding of what the meaning of companion is. Likewise, we discussed the concept of Adalah of the Sahabah. What does it mean to be just and truthful for them, and how it's applied to all 114,000 companions of the Prophet, and peace and blessings be upon him. We also covered the fact about disrespect of the Sahaba. Is it fisk? Is it disbelief to curse and insult the Sahaba? And we also presented some traditions in Sunni hadith literature, which mentions that when it comes to the Shias or those who insult, disrespect the Sahaba, they ought to be killed. I think we quoted Ibn Taymiyyah on the last show from his book, where he allegedly said that it's not disbelief to insult the Sahaba. That was not actually his statement. It was actually from other scholars who held this opinion from, I believe, Kufa. So I think it was important that we corrected that. Perhaps Ibn Taymiyyah also supported the position that Shias should be killed for insulting the Sahaba. So today we're going to very much carry on from where we left off, in terms of, is insulting the Sahaba an act of disbelief? And we're going to go back to, obviously the main Sunni sources in regards to that. So before I do, I just want to bring up something on your screen now. Give me a second. Screen share. So Ryan, can you see my screen?
What's there, Sayyid?
All right, brilliant. Okay. So firstly, it's important that, when we discuss the Sahaba, our understanding of Sahaba, especially, when we discuss this with those of other sects, when we discuss it with the Sunni brothers, be it whether they're from the Salafi community, the Sufi community, the Deobandi community, regardless, they all have something in common, and that is when it comes to the main you know, hadith collections, they generally stick with the main hadith collections. But having said that, you know, they may differ in terms of what they consider to be authentic and weak. Generally speaking, the general consensus amongst the Sunnis is that everything in Bukhari and Muslim, it's definitely Sahih. As for the other works, you know, obviously they're open for scrutiny, and when they read certain traditions, you know, they may have a difference of opinion about them. So, since the discussion is about the Sahaba, and we are going to refer back to, you know, some of the agreed sources by all sects, I think it's important that when we approach these books, we need to take some things into consideration. And what I mean by this is how trusted are these books, especially when we know that perhaps the author, you know, he might be slightly biased in terms of what he documents in his hadith works. Likewise, there could be a form of biasness from the narrators who narrate the traditions. And this obviously goes back to the companions themselves, you know, whether or not these individuals could be trusted as an eyewitness, or, you know, giving testimony about something. So without further ado, if you see my screen, I've got written hiding vices, immoral behavior of the Sahaba. So this is from a contemporary scholar, Ibn Uthaymeen, and he, in his chapter about the rights of the Sahaba, he mentions in number 3, not to mention their vices, that any were done by any one of them, then it's very tiny in comparison to the characteristics of virtue and advantages they have, and maybe these vices were caused by foreign ijtihad, forgiven ijtihad, and justified deeds because of the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, said, do not insult my companions. So as you can see, the scholar Ibn Uthaymeen in his book mentions that when it comes to the disputes of the Sahaba, it's you know, it's something that they don't mention, and they try to justify, you know, their actions based on ijtihad, meaning that the differences that they had could have been something which was, you know, it was an ijtihadi difference. You know, it was an ijtihadi difference, and obviously within Sunni belief, they believe that, you know, even if a Sahaba does wrong ijtihad, they still be rewarded for it. That's the book there. And that's the quote it's taken from. Al-Dhahabi, he says something similar in his book, Siyar al-Alam al-Nubla. He says, if it was proven that the speech of their fellows was based on hate and partnership, then it would not be acceptable, but it would be folded and not narrated. And it's argued that we must refrain from mentioning a lot of the quarrels between the companions and their fights. May Allah be pleased with them all. And we still find similar writings in the collections and books of episodes. However, most of those narrations have broken chains or weak ones, and some of them are lies. And this is about what we have in our hands and our hands of our scholars. Therefore, it must be folded and hidden. It must be eradicated, even so that the hearts will be clean and gathered over the love of the companions and being pleased with them. And hiding these writings is mainly from the groups of some scholars. However, it may be permitted for a fair scholar, the one free from self-bias, to read such writings in private, with the condition that he has to ask forgiveness for them, as Allah is the highest has taught us. And this is from his book Siyar al-Alam, volume 10, page number 92. It's quite interesting statement there by Dhahabi, talking about concealing and hiding, you know, what the Sahaba did. Ibn Fawzan, I believe another contemporary scholar, he mentions, I've highlighted the main parts anyway, when you get a chance, by all means, you can pause the screen and you can read it for yourself. And he says, and it's not allowed to talk badly about any one of them, and it's not permissible to seek their mistakes. If some of them had any, then we do not seek them and show them to people. This is not allowed because of the many virtues they have that will exceed and hide some of them may do as mistakes and atone their mistakes, and we are recommended to love them, and mentioning their good qualities and mercy for them, and asking for forgiveness for them, and stop mentioning any of their bad qualities and conflicts between them. So, again, another very interesting quote. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's part and parcel of their belief to, hide the vices that they had, the disputes that the Sahaba had amongst themselves. I don't know, Ryan, if you heard any of that, but I don't know if you
Yeah,
want
no, I did. I think it's quite interesting. I'm going to leave my comments or just after Brother Ahmed had something to say, because I feel like both the information will be things would work quite. It'd be quite interesting to have a look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you can see, when it comes to discussing the Sahaba, it's something which they always try to accuse us of taqiyya, but in reality, they do it quite a bit themselves, to the extent that, when it comes to discussing the differences, the disputes that the Sahaba had, they have to hide these things from the public. These things are not to be discussed, and according to some views, it's something which only the scholars can discuss.
Well, it's essentially just like a modern day conspiracy. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem to have any difference. If you look at the majority of caliphates, they were predominantly Sunni, and it would help a Sunni government to maintain the Sunni image by keeping the Aqidah going, by preserving certain beliefs in certain figures, and etc. So you have to cover certain things up. You know what I mean? And furthermore, these statements were made centuries ago. You know what I mean? So if these were made centuries ago, and they're saying you have to cover up certain things, how much have they already covered up? Exactly. Think about all the stuff that we know today. That's probably just scratching the surface of what we know.
Exactly.
Like,
Like you said, Ahmed. Ahmed, did you want to add anything to that? Your microphone. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
What's up? Wait until I get into my sources. Yep, so to build on what they said about the heavy alteration that had happened, like, obviously, given like the many centuries in which Sahih al-Bukhari and all of the books basically were only scriptures that are like written in hand, and they weren't mass produced, and many people owned them. So obviously there was like a very big chance for alteration. Like anyone could have added or removed anything that they didn't like. So things were altered pretty heavily. And just to show you, like, just to scratch the surface, as you said, about those issues, like in Bukhari alone, there are 56 instances of names of certain Sahabis or different, like, parts of hadith that were removed or like altered in certain ways to cover up for certain criminals or Sahabis basically, who are criminals. Why is it too silent? Does anyone hear me?
No, yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
No, everybody can hear you, Ahmed. Everybody can hear you.
You're with me.
Yeah, we all are.
So here is like, for example, one hadith concerning this. Here is one riwayah about the stance of Ammar bin Yasir alayhi salam about Uthman bin Affan. So this is in Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, not chapter, volume 3, page 241 in the Egyptian printing house, whatever it's called. Affan bin Muslim told us that Hamad bin Salama said that Abu Hafs wa Kulthum bin Jabr, that Abu Ghadeer said, I heard Ammar bin Yasir criticizing Uthman and insulting him in المدينة. سمعت عمار بن ياسر يقع في عثمان يشتمه في المدينة. So he both criticized him and insulted him. And he said, So I told him I will kill him. That's Abu Ghadeer saying that he said he will kill Ammar bin Yasir alayhi salam. And said, if God gives me the ability to kill you, I will. So in Siffin, Ammar started saying, like he started attacking people, and they said, this is Uthman. And I saw a spot between his lungs that were not covered. So I attacked him and I stabbed him on his knee, then in his heart, and killed him. So this narration shows that Ammar alayhi salam insulted Uthman and criticized him. So in another narration, like this is also in same page and same source in Tabaqat ibn Sa'd. So here is the altered version. No, this one is in Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal, exact same isnad. So look at the isnad. Same person, عن أبي عون and Kathum bin Jabr, same people. So we were in the same location, things. So I saw a man, فإذا رجل يسب فلانا. I saw a man insulting so and so. So they didn't mention Ammar or Uthman. And they didn't mention that they are Sahabis. And the rest is exactly the same.
You can find many like that. I'm just going to give a small comment, guys. You can find many like that, even with Sab Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. I'm pretty sure it's in Sunan Abi Dawood. When he says, Sabba Fulan, Muawiyah Sabba Fulan, that Muawiyah cursed this certain individual, but they didn't name Amir al-Mu'mineen. But when you go to other sources, it shows the same hadith or the same chain with the same narrator, and it shows how the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So this tahrif has actually been going, and these, what do you call it? These removal of the ahadith and these main key points of these ahadith has been going on for a while.
Yeah, there are like hundreds of examples. Like the source I'm getting this from is barely scratching the surface, and I'm barely scratching the surface of the source. So here is one sorry?
Keep scratching. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going, Ahmed, keep going.
Okay. So here is another one I think you may appreciate. It's about Abu Bakr and Umar, and about how Ibn Abbas viewed their legacy, or how people glorified them and viewed their legacy. So here is the original source in Musnad Ahmad bin Hanbal. It says, Affan told us, someone told him, until we reach the narration. Urwa said to Ibn Abbas, حتى متى تضل الناس يا ابن عباس? Until when will you deceive the people, O Ibn Abbas? He said, what do you mean, O Urwa? Urwa replied, you tell us to go to Umrah in the months of Hajj, and Abu Bakr and Umar told us not to. So Ibn Abbas said, قد فعلها رسول الله. The prophets have done it. So Urwa said, هما كان أتبع لرسول الله وأعلم به منك. They followed the prophets and they understand him more than you do. And they say the isnad is sahih على شرط الشيخين. Then in the other unaltered, this also exists in another source, which is in another part of the Musnad, it is mentioned. Yeah. So anyway, here is the altered version by in al-Ahadith al-Mukhtara by al-Hafiz Dhiya al-Maqdisi. Look at the full narration now. Ibn Abbas said, so yeah, exact same thing, but then he replies after they tell him Abu Bakr and Umar told us not to do it. He says, أراهم سيهلكون. يعني I think they will what is halak in English? Like I think they will
perish, or they will perish. Best way to explain it.
Yeah. I tell them the Prophet said, and they tell me Abu Bakr and Umar said. here is another major alteration. And honestly, it exists in many other parts, and it's altered in all of them.
Ahmed, could they argue that the narrators are different in these traditions, or are we
No.
exactly
Same narrators?
But what they've
Exact
done,
same narrators.
they've removed bits and they've played about with traditions in order to, you could say, hide these vices that existed amongst the Sahaba.
Ali, can I comment as well?
That's what they do. Like the norm with all of this is that every time a Sahabi commits a crime and gets cursed by the Prophet or cursed by another Sahabi, or there is like an insult among the Sahaba, they tend to remove the harsh part of the insults, such as the part when they said they will perish, or they remove the names of the Sahaba. So you look at it and you say, well, they are just Fulan wa Fulan. They aren't maybe Sahaba. And if you want, I can go on like for days just bringing up similar examples. But like, I think the norm is understood here. You want one last example?
I think, Ahmed, you by all means you can do. I was going to say, I think perhaps we can dedicate a whole show on how the religious books are distorted, and the religion's ultimately based upon lies. That's what it is. It's if you can't, if the religion doesn't have any foundations to it, if the school of thought doesn't have any foundations, what do? You sugarcoat.
If the hadith are even tampered with it, then how can we take from that school if everything's been tampered with it?
They present
they have no academic integrity. They have no respect for their own scholars. Yani Bukhari and Muslim and those guys spent their whole lives collecting their hadiths, which I believe, like for the most part, are bullshit. But they made efforts to collect.
We apologize.
And as soon as they die, you alter everything.
Stuck for a lot. It's daytime here.
Yeah. And respect the hard work they did.
I think Ahmed's been keeping control of his words.
I think he's been trying really hard to contain himself.
Well, it's Ramadan, so yeah, I need some self-restraint, I guess. Ramadan is to teach us that. Yeah, sorry about that. And
it's all good. No, see,
let's take one last narration, and then we can move on, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this narration. So this is in Musannaf Abd al-Razzaq al-San'ani, who died in the year 211 للهجرة. So he says that the Prophet heard that Umar ibn Samra, a Sahabi, sold alcohol, sold wine. So he said, قاتل الله Samra, may God kill or fight. No, sorry, Ibn Abbas said this. Ibn Abbas said he was told that he sold alcohol, so he said, قاتل الله Samra, may God fight or kill Samra. Didn't he hear the Prophet saying, may God kill the Jews because they were sold not to sell fat, so they dissolved it, then sold it? So in the narration in Musnad al-Humaydi, which is, the exact same chain of narrators, Sufyan, Amr bin Dinar, all of them, he says, أن السمرة باع خمرا. It's the same narration. It's the exact same thing, not altered yet. Same narrator, same narration in another source. In a third source, البحر الزخار, they changed it, saying بلغ أن رجلا باع خمرا. So just a man sold wine. They removed the name of the Sahabi. So that's one more example.
You know what I mean? It's quite funny, and you see this time and time again, that whenever there's an accusation made towards the Twelvers or any of the Jafari schools, it's usually, oh, you guys don't understand Tawheed. They don't know Tawheed. Don't go near them. They do taqiyya, or they say stuff about the Sahaba, or they say stuff about the Prophet. Astaghfirullah. Yet they do it all the time. They do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And the really sad thing is, it's it's a belief system that's based a lot on emotion, which they also accuse us of. They say, oh, the Shia, they play on people's emotions, they make them cry, they make them mournful, and all this.
Right, can I just add a comment as well? Usually you hear the line about us is that they're on shaky pillars. Well, based on what Ahmad is showing, just on these 3 hadiths, and he's saying he's just scratching the surface. Well, if your hadith and your literature has been tampered, so looks like you guys are on shaky pillars more than us, if that's the case. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it's a mess, man. It's a mess.
And I can understand too the anger that Brother Ahmed would have felt when he was coming to realize all of this. You know, when I was before I started following the school of the Bayat, alayhim assalam, you know, I would look at it and I would think, how is any of this in line with what the teaching of the Quran? How is this godly? How is any of this thinking godly? You know, we can go into further, and I'm sure later episodes about certain Sahabah and what they've done and et cetera, but it just boggles the mind. It really does. And it's quite sad that the majority of Muslims don't even realize this stuff. You know what I mean? It's really quite depressing.
Ryan, how can you relate that to Christianity? Because does it not kind of remind you what the Christians did with the Bible when they distorted, the main
Most of the scriptures?
Yeah.
Look, the way I see it is that history repeats itself, and if you look at Sunni hadith where they talk about, you know, the Jews will be divided into 71 sects, one will be saved. They say that the Christians will be divided into 72 sects and one will be saved. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. And then they also have, in the same hadith, it says that the Ummah will be divided into 73 sects and one will be saved. That shows that the majority of these groups, and sorry, it's not necessarily sects. So with those hadiths, Sheikh Mazen, who's actually come on the show, he's done a great video on this, and he has the same opinion as I do when it comes to what that hadith actually means.
Yeah, I watched it. Very good video.
Yeah, it's a very good video. It talks about different categories. You know, it says that there's a very, very strong criterion for what makes someone saved, and that the majority of Muslims and the majority of Christians and the majority of Jews clearly don't meet those standards. Yet you see the majority always saying, well, no, you know, we're on the hook. But the majority, how can this many people be wrong? But that's just how it's always been. You know, humans are predominantly sheep, and they'll just follow what they're told. You know what I mean? And they don't have time to rationalize, they don't have time to think and all these kind of things. Even though thinking and understanding your deen is wajib, they don't tend to look further into it. And mashallah, you had Brother Ahmed, for example, he's one that actually looked further into it. You know what I mean? Mashallah, Brother Raz, he also, even just as a 12-bar, he's also looked into his deen more. And I'm sure he's developed and grown so much from what he used to have. You know what I mean? Because
that's a beautiful point. That's a beautiful point. It's true. You always change. You're always looking to find the truth and seeking the truth. You know.
As long as your intention is always to seek the haqq, you will be guided to the haqq. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He'll guide those whom He wishes, and that's those who actually want to be guided. You know what I mean? Those who don't want to be guided, they're going to be left aside, because who are they? How are they worthy to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You know what I mean? So, it's really depressing. It has a lot of similarities with Christianity, with every ideology. You know, we've had reportedly both Sunni and Shia agree there's 124,000 prophets. All right? But as Muslims can really only agree on like 3 religions that came from those 124,000. You know, what about all the ones from other places around the world? They don't even, their ideologies don't even make the cut when it comes to what they were taught and all that kind of stuff. They just completely are gone. That's how bad and misguided one can argue they were. So, it is quite sad. Did you boys have any other more points to make on that, or?
No, I mean, you know, obviously we kind of understand that, you know, when it comes to the the religious books, we have to take everything with a pinch of salt, because you could say the true reality of things are clearly kept hidden from the general public, and it's something which they don't like to discuss, because the moment you start discussing it, then it brings about doubt about the whole foundations of what their religion is built upon. So, obviously coming back to what we're discussing on the issue of the companions of the Holy Prophet, I think, if we kind of move on to, the issue of cursing, what is Lanah or what is Sab? I don't know if any of the brothers want to...
I'll take it from here, Sayyid.
No problem. If you want
I'll take it from here. All right, guys, I'm just going to screen share right now.
I see you've come prepared, Rizal.
Yeah. All right, guys, everybody can see my screen. Yep,
it appeared.
Yep. Okay, cool. How's the font on Word? Everybody can read it clearly?
Yeah. That's all good.
All right, cool. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so now through this document, I'm just going to be explaining briefly what does La'na and what does Sab mean, and what's the scholar of the Sunni school of thought on. So first one is from Ibn Manzur on Lisan al-Arab, volume 13, page 287. Okay, cursing or quotation, La'na, means to be expelled and removed from goodness. It is said it is a condemnation and supplication for expulsion and removal from Allah and from the creation. Okay. That's the first opinion of Ibn Manzur. And the scan. Oh, 1 second. That's the scan. Lisan al-Arab. Okay. And here's now an interesting book from Pakistan, from Sayyid Muhammad Abdul Rahim. And the book is called 100 Wretched People. So basically, this book is based on people within a hadith that the Prophet cursed. Okay, so I'm not going to go into full detail on who's exactly this individual, but I'm only going to explain what his definition was of la'an, basically. Okay, so we can go here, and there's what is la'na. La'na is severe displeasure. Severe displeasure is la'na. Allah's la'na is the displeasure and punishment. This word is singular number, and there is plural is la'an and is la'nat. And the Arabs say la'natullahu la'na. It means that Allah drove him out and put him away from good, and he is said to be mal'un. Okay, so mal'un means accused of being cursed. So if I say hada mal'un, means I'm saying this person is cursed. Okay, its plural form is mala'in. So when you're cursing a couple of people. Now, a man is said to be rajul la'in, so a cursed man, and a woman is said to be imra'a la'ina, a cursed woman. Thus la'na is to push away and to put away from good. And la'in is the person who is displayed when wrong is perpetrated. The plural form is la'inun. Okay, this is from, as we said, Sayyid Muhammad from Pakistan. And here we go. And here is where I found this very good reference to have as well, is where he shows within the Qur'anic scripture, where is the word la'na being used. Oh, just give me a second.
Well,
where the word la'na is.
It's excellent. I've just noticed. So basically what he's done is he's used where this word's appeared in its different forms from the different verses. It's quite beautiful, actually.
Well done. Well, for example, la'an on Surah Al-Ahzab has been used. La'nat is in Surah Al-Ahsaf. La'na, Surah Al-Nisa. La'anuhum, Surah Al-Ma'idah. Again, la'nat. It's on Surah Al-Nisa. La'anuhum, Surah Al-Baqarah. Tal'anuhum, Surah Al-Nisa. A lot from Surah Al-Nisa. Yul'an as well, Surah Al-Nisa. Yal'anuhum Al-Baqarah. Wal'anuhum Al-Ahzab. And the list keeps going on. and the list keeps going on. So here he's showed up to, I think, 20 verses in the Quran, which shows the word la'an has been used in different versions. As we said, there's plural, there's singular, there's when you use it for females, when they use it for males. He showed them all. Now here's another as well from Dr. Mahmoud Rouhani, source المجمع الإحصائي للفتح القرآني فتح القرآن الكريم. Okay, لفاظ القرآن الكريم, sorry. And he as well, he's also showed the word la'an, lu'ana, la'nan, where it's used within the Quranic discourse as well. Okay. Okay. And here is what I'm going to be explaining about. And do not insult and revile, abuse those who invoke other than Allah. This is a verse in the Quran. This is what I'm going to start explaining about sab a little bit. Okay. And do not insult / revile, i.e. sab, abuse those who invoke other than Allah, lest they insult Allah in enmity without knowledge. Thus we have made pleasing to every community their deeds. Then to their lords is their return, and he will inform about them what they used to do. This is chapter 6, verse 108. Okay, now Ibn Manzur is also, as I said, guys, I just explained what la'an is. Now I'm going to sab. Okay? Now in Ibn Manzur's book, sab means shatam, i.e. means cursing, swearing, or revile. This is also Lisan al-Arab, volume 1, page 456. Okay? So here's Lisan al-Arab, chapter 1. Okay. And now the last part I'm just going to be explaining about fatwas on scholars, the fatwas of scholars on sending la'an. All right, just guys, give me just 1 second, please. Okay.
Yeah. So coming back, I think
Fatwa.
you're back.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back now. Sorry, this was just 1 second, literally. Okay, fatwa on sending la'na, of scholars sending la'na. Okay. Now here we go. Here's from Ibn Taymiyyah. It is permissible to curse all those whom Allah and His Messenger have cursed. But as for cursing specific people, if it is known that this person died in kufr, then it is permissible to curse them. But with regard to a specific evildoer, we should not curse him. I.e., a Muslim is also an evildoer. We should not curse him because the Prophet forbade cursing Abdullah ibn Himar, who used to drink wine even though he had cursed the wine drinkers in general. However, cursing a specific person if he is an evildoer or promoter of bid'ah is a point of dispute amongst the scholars. This is Majmu' al-Fatawa, volume 5, page 511. Okay. This is from Majmu' al-Fatawa. Here's the scans. And this is from Ibn Uthaymeen. Okay. The difference between cursing a specific person and cursing those who commit sins in general is that the former, cursing a specific person, i.e., is not allowed, and the latter, cursing the people who commit sin in general, is allowed. So if you do see an innovator, you do not say, "May Allah curse you." Rather, you say, "May the curse of Allah be upon those who introduce innovations in general terms." Okay, now here he's saying the evidence of that is that the fact that when the Prophet cursed someone, people amongst the mushrikeen and followers of Jahiliyyah said, "Oh Allah, curse so and so and so and so and so and so." He was told not to do that when Allah said, "Not for you, O Muhammad, but for Allah is the decision whether He turns in mercy them or punishes them. Verily they are the Zalimun." And this is Surah Al-Imran, verse 128. This is Surah Al-Qawl Al-Mufid, volume 1, page 227. This is the scan. Okay, guys. That's it for now on what does the term la'an mean and the term sab means. Ryan or Sayyid, do you guys want to ask any questions or comment on that? And Ahmed, of course.
Well, Ryan, what do you make of that?
I think it's good that we clarified that, because a lot of the time people will often confuse And for some reason, it's really weird. They'll confuse the term curse with curse words.
To be fair, I don't think there's a direct word for lana in English, if you can understand the point I'm trying to make. Because if
you could say. I think it originally was curse, and I think because from my understanding of the history of the word, curse meant lana. Then what happened was people would use the bad words so much, they were like, oh, well, if you're using these bad words, it's essentially, going to have a detriment to you. So it kind of just moved into also meaning sub as well. But you could say something like hex, put a hex on you. So lana could be like hex if you want to use a sub for curse. Or instead of sub, you could just say insult. And for lana, you could say curse. But at the end of the day, the point is that the people just need to understand that there's a difference. Yeah. So, insulting someone, that's one thing. I think, I can't remember which battle it was, but Amir al-Mu'mineen, alayhi salam, he said not to insult. Yeah, he said not to insult the enemies.
Yeah.
Oh, no, is that the one saying I do not want my followers to be sababin?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is excessive. Because I think we can do a show actually just on examples of how Sahabah themselves use certain abusive words. I mean, there's that famous hadith where Abu Bakr says to the mushrikeen about sucking on the. I don't want to say the exact words because it's quite graphic, but there is evidence that Sahaba did use certain derogatory words and stuff. But from what I've understood from Rizal's point is that obviously, when we talk about curse, there's a taboo about it. You automatically get some people who'd be like, oh, cursing's not allowed in Islam. But you could see quite clearly from the Quran itself that there are numerous examples of lana used. So that was the first point that Rizal obviously pointed out. The second point was obviously the issue of sub, right? What does sub mean? He talked about the linguistic meaning. If you guys also realize when it comes to sab and lana is very diverse. Does that make sense? Like sab, you can say it's one meaning, but lana, it differs between 2-3 things. And sab is just simple. It's a supplication. It's a supplication. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to withdraw your mercy from someone. That's what it is, right?
That's all it is, basically. That's the linguistic meaning we know of it. Cool.
I think
Go
also
ahead.
too.
I don't know if Ahmed wants to add anything because Ahmed's very silent at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a silent observer.
Go on.
So I'm one of the audience, I guess. So first of all, concerning the whole sab thing, like while there are very few examples of Sahabis cursing each other, doing la'an to each other, there are examples, but they are few. Sahabis do sab to each other all day, every day. Like examples are endless. Like literally, they sab the hell out of each other. So, like, if you say that the Sahaba are like the stars and whichever we follow, we will be led to like the right path and all that, well, I want to follow a certain Sahabi who insulted another Sahabi, and it happens all the time. So, that's one thing. And if they do sab to each other, why would we not do sab to the specific ones we think did bad of them? And clearly they didn't have an issue with it. So that's one thing. And secondly, concerning the Prophet himself doing la'an on certain Sahabis, which he did on more than one occasion. Actually, he did it so much that there is an entire chapter in Sahih Muslim.
Oh, bro, can I bring the chapter up? Give me a minute. Hold on.
Yeah. There is a chapter in Sahih Muslim called Bab Man la'anaha an-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam أو سبه أو دعا عليه. So the chapter concerning the ones the Prophet cursed or insulted, did sab to, or prayed against, دعا عليه. There is an entire chapter with those kinds of people who are Sahabis mostly because they are his companions. So one hadith in that chapter.
Actually, bro,
Sorry?
sorry to interrupt you. Before you come to that chapter, can I share a video? I've just realized I want to share a video with you guys.
Yeah, sure, why not?
All right, give me a minute. I'm just gonna bring up my screen. Give me a minute. Well, it's two videos. I hope you guys just bear with me. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna screen share.
Oh, that reminds me, guys. In the last video, I talked about, ladies and gentlemen, I talked about how I wasn't featured in a certain video, but it's okay. They've made up for it now. I've now been put into certain pictures. I am.
Oh really?
I am being treated as a hate preacher now.
Oh really?
I appreciate it greatly.
Wow.
Thank you.
Ryan, you're Facebook famous now.
You know what? I think we need to do a show about moderation and extremism and how
to become a normal human being.
Excessiveness in any form, you know, whether you're a Shia or Sunni, it's not good. It's not healthy for the individual. And you know, but anyway, let me just play this video. Tell me if you can hear it, guys. The Muslims or the mainstream of the Ummah. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So he's talking about what makes someone a disbeliever, according to, you know, well, he's a Salafi sheikh, so he's gonna state, you know, because as I mentioned earlier, there's actually two opinions. One group say it's not disbelief, another group say it is disbelief. But anyway, let's go according to the view that it's disbelief anyway.
Yes. Denouncing and blaspheming, giving blasphemy or to blaspheme the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, and insult them or curse them or judge them as apostates or disbelievers.
So he, as you can see, what did he say, Ryan? Did you hear that?
Yeah,
he said that according to what?
No, according to nothing.
No. What did you hear from that?
He said when it comes to cursing or insulting the companions of the Prophet ﷺ or his wives, and then that's all I got up to his head because then he stopped it.
Okay, great.
And this is basically one of the great principles of the Shia faith or belief. For instance, what the entire Muslim world have witnessed recently, there is...
Hold on 1 second. So basically, getting to the point, he's going to say that, look, it's going to be disbelief, right? Anyone who insults the companions of the Prophet is disbelief, etc., etc. I'm going to play one more video of this sheikh here. I want to listen to this now, yeah?
You are my brother. There is a union. We don't want to break the union. Let us eat together. You are a good man. Our Prophet is a good man. But, look to but his wives are... Do you respect? What does this mean? Oh, we believe in Allah. We believe in his Prophet. But Abu Bakr is a criminal. This companion is... we believe La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, we are your friends, we are your neighbors. But, Shi'i, Turqa, Shi'i, Dali, Kafir. But Abu Bakr and Umar, عمر بن الخطاب عمر وما أدراك عمر بن الخطاب. You know what do they say about Umar? I don't know in English, in Arabic, لا يشفى إلا بماء الرجال. لا إله إلا الله. What is it in English? شاذ جنسيا. What do you call it in English? يعني لواط يلوطون به. Homosexual.
Okay, so on that note, What do you guys got to say about that?
I like how he backed it up with academic sources, and I also liked it how.
What's up with that guy?
Listen, did you guys see the video?
Yeah, we did.
So basically, what did he say? He said that if anyone insults the Sahaba, they are pretty much disbelievers, according to them.
Both of them.
So Ahmed, can you come back now to the hadith you mentioned from say Muslim? Because now, according to those same principles, if anyone insults or curses the Sahaba, is considered to be a disbeliever. Ahmed, do you want to come back on and continue? Because
of course. So in the chapter about the people the Prophet cursed or insulted or prayed against, يعني cursed in other words, حدثنا زهير بن, well, many narrators, let's cut to the hadith. Two men talked to the Prophet with something, and she doesn't. Well, let me just read the English narration. Aisha said that many people said, yeah, both of them entered the Prophet and said something to him, talked to him about a thing of which I am not aware, but that annoyed him, and he invoked curse upon both of them and hurled malediction. Okay. And when they went out, I said, Allah's messenger, the good would reach everyone, but it would not reach those two. He said, why so? I said, I feel bad about saying I said about something Aisha said. Now I feel like I don't know. So anyway, because you have invoked curse and hurled malediction, I don't know what that word means, upon both of them. He said, don't you know that I have made condition with my Lord, saying this, O Allah, I am a human being, and that for a Muslim upon whom I invoked curse or hurl malediction, make it a source of purity and reward. So that's the end of the hadith now. And like, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I always worry that I'm talking to myself. I'm not used to this. Anyway, so yeah, this.
So basically, what you're saying is that they have a whole chapter about those people who the Prophet not only did Lanah on, but he also did Sab on these individuals. And
Yep.
the tradition you just read, there was two individuals who the Prophet basically cursed. So by definition, these individuals, they would have been Sahaba, because a Sahaba is someone who has been in the presence of the Prophet at least.
I've also got a couple of narrations here about with the Prophet cursing people, but when you guys are done, I would like to as well to present them. Yep, all right.
Of
Cool.
course. Yeah, so...
Oh, you know that.
Yani,
go ahead. So go ahead, Ahmed. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Alrighty. So the issue with this hadith is that it portrays the Prophet as someone who is like prone to meaningless rage, prone to the rage that makes us fallible. Like, if the Prophet that God sent to enlighten us is that prone to just emotionally charged tantrums in which he simply curses people who don't deserve a curse, then how are we supposed to follow his sunnah? How will we know that this certain thing he did is a sunnah and not just a rage-filled tantrum that he threw? The Prophet ﷺ, as we believe, is mubarra'un min kulli aybin wa shayb. So not only does he not commit sins, but also he doesn't do something that is dishonorable, even if it's not haram, and he doesn't do something that is a shayb, impure, even if it's haram. Because we have to follow everything he does. So if the Prophet is prone to those tantrums, it would be a sunnah for us to just run around the street insulting people who don't deserve it.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that is not the case. When the Prophet curses someone, that someone deserves the curse, because Quran says, وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. So what the Prophet does, according to Quran, is divinely inspired, everything he says or does, so that we don't end up doing uh, mistakes as the method of like following him. So
that's well put. Ryan, sorry, go on.
We touched on this in one of the Q&A sessions a while back. We actually talked about infallibility, and it's such a good point. I actually made the same point. That's why I think it's such a good point. And that's exactly it. It's completely irrational. So when someone tries to argue, oh, well, astaghfirullah, they'll say the Prophet wasn't infallible.
Ryan, they've got a whole chapter dedicated to that. The Prophet used
I know. It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to have a sunnah. It doesn't make any sense to have a sunnah, right? And then for the person that you're supposed to be imitating 100% in your life, ideally, to be flawed. Like they say that, oh, look, only God is infallible. Okay, but if God can do whatever he wants, he can make an infallible person. The person still can die. It's not, you know what I mean? It has nothing to do, it's not like you're creating another God. So it's just absurd that they
Ryan, the thing is, look, even infallibility, right? There's different levels of isma. For example, a child is considered to be infallible to some extent because they're not held accountable for the things they do because they've not reached to that level of understanding between determining what's right and wrong. You understand? So the issue of infallibility, isma, that's a massive topic alone. But you know what Ahmed was saying, he summed up pretty well. He said, "Listen, the Prophet is a role model, and anything he says is nothing but revelation revealed to him." What rational mind would believe that the Prophet used to go around just randomly cursing people, saying, "Look, if I curse you, consider this to be a form of charity. If I'm right, then it's obviously you can be cursed, but if I'm wrong, then it's a form of charity."
You know what it is though.
No. It could be.
Hold on, Rizal, you wanted to read some hadith. Can you carry on?
Let me just say something as well. I remember once I saw this. I saw this comment on Facebook. How somebody said, that the Prophet's curse can also be a blessing. I'm reading this comment. I'm like that literally made my mind upside down. I did not see the logic behind that. But anyways, look, I'm just gonna go on the Word document. Let me just share my screen. Ryan, did you want to say something? I realize.
No, there's nothing. I don't want to give. I can't really give that topic any more time because.
Why?
Because it's just stupid, man. It just does my head in. I just don't get it. You can't say you respect the Prophet. You can't say you love the Prophet, and then when he does something, just be like, "Oh, he's just angry." No, you can't do that. That's disgusting. That's not. You don't. You honestly can't believe he's from God if you talk about him like that.
I know. I agree with you.
I agree with you 100%.
If you're going to believe in this version of the Prophet, then I do really pity that individual, someone who marries a 6-year-old girl. But again, this is this topic for another time, right? But the point is, Rizal, before you go on to read those traditions,
go ahead.
The point to note here is that look, all those who were around during the time of the Prophet, by definition, were Sahabah, right? Therefore, all those people that he cursed, he cursed, he hit, he abused. Who were they? They were companions.
Yeah.
You understand? Now,
are they going to paradise as well? That's my question.
So coming back to the point of those two videos, and in light of what we were discussing in the previous episodes, whether it's an act of kufr or fisk or you need to kill the person or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to the companions and having these principles, then what would we say about the Prophet? According to those same principles, what would be said about the Prophet then?
I'm trying to rationalize it in my head. I'm trying to give.
But Ryan, listen.
You can't. That's the thing, Ryan. You can't rationalize it.
Okay, at least look. The thing is, we can at least admit that it's sunnah to curse the Sahaba because it's the Prophet, right, who put this in place. And obviously, we know from the Quran. What does the Quran say? It says, "If you love Allah, then
Follow me.
Yeah, you basically follow me. So then why don't these people, if you believe, look, this is same Muslim we're talking about, is considered to be the sister of the Quran, because obviously you have Bukhari, which is considered the brother book, and Muslim to be considered the sister book. So according to the most authentic books, you have a whole chapter about who the Prophet cursed and abused and insulted. So if you want to be following the Sunnah of the Prophet, then you'd be doing pretty much the same thing then. At least you would admit cursing those individuals who have been mentioned in this chapter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, which is interesting because now it kind of goes on to Rizal. What are you going to say? What were you going to mention, Rizal? This tradition.
Oh, no. All right, cool. Let me just show these traditions, guys. I'm just screen share. I'm just making sure Ahmad, you're still there as well, yeah? Because I really want you to see these traditions as well.
Yep, I'm here.
Everybody can see my screen, yep?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The Prophet cursed, reviled, or prayed against people. Mark, pay attention to what prayed against people who do not deserve that. It will be purification, reward, and mercy. All right, now from Anas reported that there was an orphan girl with Sulaim, who was the mother of Anas. Allah's Messenger saw that the orphan girl saw that orphan girl and said, "Oh, it is you. You have grown young. May you not advance in years." That slave girl returned to Sulaim, weeping. Sulaim said, "Oh, daughter, what is the matter with you?" Oh, let me just go down. What is the matter with you? She said, Allah's apostle has invoked curse upon me, that I should not grow in age, and thus I would never grow in age. Or she said, in my life, Sulaim went out wrapping her headdress hurriedly until she met Allah's Messenger. He said to her, Sulaim, what is the matter with you? She said, Oh Allah's Messenger, you have invoked curse upon my orphan girl. He said, Sulaim, what is that? She said, she states that you have cursed her, saying that she might not grow in age or grow in life. Allah's Messenger smiled and then said, Sulaim, don't you know that I have made this term with my Lord? And the term with my Lord is that I said to him, I am a human being, and I am pleased just as a human being is pleased, and I will lose temper. Here's an interesting part. Right, this is coming back to what you said. And I'll lose temper just as a human being loses temper. So for any person from amongst my ummah whom I curse, and he in no way deserves it, let that, O Lord, be made a source of purification and purity and nearness to Allah on the day of resurrection. This is in Sahih Muslim, Book 32, Hadith 6297.
If the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, may he forgive us for such blasphemous words. It's quite disturbing. But the point being is, what can you say? I mean, if the Prophet's curses like that, I would dread to imagine what his prayers would be like,
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, what if his curses are going to be like that? Can you imagine what his,
100%. Rod, do you want to add anything, or should I continue?
No, that just made me violently ill, and I don't want to throw up and fasting. So, please continue.
No worries. All right, let's keep going. Here's another report from Ibn Abbas. Reported, I was playing with children that Allah, His Messenger, happened to pass by. I hid myself behind the door. He, the Prophet, came and patted my shoulders and said, hold up, let's just do this. Okay. Go and call Muawiyah. I returned and he said he is busy in taking food. He again asked me to go and call Muawiyah to him. I went and said that he was busy in taking food, whereupon he said, may Allah not fill his belly.
wow.
Ibn Muthana said, I asked Umayyah what he meant by the word hatani. He said it means he patted my shoulders. Okay, but don't worry about that part. It's just the part with Muawiyah and how the Prophet said, "May Allah not fill his belly." Sayyid Ali, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to the point of this chapter, right? The chapter, those who the Prophet insulted and cursed. And I think there is another tradition elsewhere where the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family, mention that, I don't want to misquote the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him. Something
Maybe for the next show, bro. Maybe the next show you'll show it.
Yeah, I think it's along the lines that if you curse a Muslim, it's fisk.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I'm pretty sure we said it. We mentioned it in the last show. If people want to reference, I'm pretty sure we did, bro. About something of fast, fisk, and vice versa.
oh yes,
I think it was.
we did. I think
We did. I think it's the third show or the second show. But whoever wants to go back to that, they can watch the previous shows. We did mention.
So of course goes back to the point. Prophet randomly cursing people, but here you could see it's very when it comes to Muawiyah, the Prophet, firstly the Quran says what, obey Allah and His Messenger. If the Prophet's calling you, whatever Muawiyah was doing at the time, whether he was busy having opening his fast or eating his samosas or his pakoras or his kebabs or whatever, he should have stopped eating and he should have went and attended to the Messenger of Allah.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
But as you can see from this hadith, the Prophet cursed him, and it's quite clear that if we are going to follow the Sunnah of the Prophet, then Muawiyah is definitely from his teachings.
Yep, 100%. Okay, now let's go to the next hadith. Okay, here we go.
I think this is quite a lengthy narration. If you just want to read the main part when it comes to...
All right, cool. I'll just go down. It is a lengthy narration, actually. Here we go. It said, yes, Allah's apostles scolded and cursed them. And he said to them what he had to say by the will of God. The people then took water of the fountain in the palms until it became somewhat significant, and Allah's messenger washed his hands and his face too in it, and then took it again in that fountain. And there is gushed forth abundant water from the fountain until all the people drank to their fill. He then said, Muwaddah, it is hoped that if you live long, you would see its water irradiating well the gardens. Okay, here's where the Prophet openly cursed normally. So as in using the word la'natullahu alayhum. Alright. Sayyid Ali, you wanted to add anything? Or Ryan?
No, I think the narration itself, the reference,
speaks for itself.
Yeah, it kind of speaks for itself, I believe. I think it's another incident where the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, he did sub. I think actually you say Lanah in this one, or was it sub?
Cursed, so I'm pretty sure it's Lanah. Hold on, let me just go back to the Arabic.
I saw the Arabic.
Oh no, wait, it is sab, yeah. Fasabbahuma, sorry. Fasabbahuma, it's not Lanah, Fasabbahuma. Okay.
Yeah.
So he swore at them.
Yeah, he swore at them, yep.
I think with all of these hadith, all of them, like it's not, I don't think all of these books are garbage. I think there's a lot of good stuff in them. There's a lot of good hadiths, a lot of nice and spiritual and uplifting hadiths and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure the same things that Brother Ahmed saw, which steered him away from this school, is the same things that I saw at the very beginning. I wouldn't even accept any hadiths because of these hadiths.
Oh wow!
Like, at the very beginning, I was a Qur'ani because of Sahih Muslim, because of Sahih Bukhari, because of the Sahih 6. These books were sick. Like the stuff that's said in them, like you don't need people like, oh, you need to ask a scholar and stuff like that. No, mate. There's just so much stuff in them that just doesn't make sense, or it's not something that's really in line with someone's, in line with someone's heart, or you can't be in line with the fitrah. You know what I mean? Like it's just so absurd. And then you've got all of these people that idolize these people in it. It's scary. It's scary.
It is, bro. It is. Okay, I think I got a couple more things I want to show. Just a couple more narrations. This is back from the Pakistani scholar I spoke about before. 100 Wretched People. Okay, by Sayyid Muhammad Abdul Rahim.
Just on a point, this book does kind of respond back to the issue about individual cursing and whether you should group as a curse.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, curse a group collectively. There seems to be a big dispute within this issue, within this school as well. But what is clear, though, definitely, if we go according to the Sunnah, then definitely indication that the Prophet, according to their books, used to curse the Sahaba.
Yeah. All right. Here's the last thing I want to show. One Sahabi. Two things that it's on page 29 of the book. There's a bit of irritation in the background. Somebody's typing, I think. Okay. Two things there are such that if the eyes shed tears of blood for them and lose their sight, even then, not even 1/10 for them will have been paid. End of the youth and separation from friends. Okay, this is the hadith underneath it. I'm just going to read that page. Okay, this is from Yahya Abu Kathir, narrated that the Prophet ﷺ saw my man prostrating while he had seized his hair with his hand so that they might not touch the ground. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Oh Allah, make his hair dirty and spoil them."
Wow.
Okay. And Dalal Nabuwa fi Abu Nu'aym, Kanz al-Ummal, and Dur al-Manthur. Okay, that's the references for that. Okay, Said Ali, you want to comment on anything?
I know, Ryan, do you want to say anything on that issue?
Oh yeah, I think Ryan wants to.
So yeah, I
No,
mean,
I don't.
no,
No, I don't know what else to say, man. I
Ahmed.
mean, like,
Ahmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to say anything of that? Should I just give a quick commentary, me?
Actually, you know what? Do you want to
So
open?
closing up or something,
Guys,
I have like one last piece of
Brother.
advice to give to any Sunni listening.
Please, brother, choose your words wisely. we had a bit of.
yeah, do it, Ahmed. Go.
Yeah.
For it.
Show us what you got.
So back when I was this is a hadith by Imam Ali alayhi salam that I wish I heard as a Sunni. It would have made me a much wiser Sunni, and therefore it would have made me to convert to Shi'ism much earlier. It is اعرف الحق تعرف أهله. Know the truth and you will know its people. So don't know the people, don't just choose the people and base the truth on them. Your scholars, your very early scholars, may God punish them for every person they took astray and every life they destroyed with their preachings. They decided that certain evil Sahabis, such as the murderers of Ammar bin Yasir alayhi salam, whom the Prophet cursed, or those Sahabis generally, they decided that those are good. So to defend them, they made it okay to alter hadith, and they altered hundreds of hadiths that we know of, and God knows what they altered before we could know in the early years. And for that, they deemed that the Prophet had astaghfirullah lost his mind while he was on his deathbed. And for that, they decided that he is, and they created hadiths for it, that the Prophet is an easily angered man who walks around cursing people for no reason, and that he has a pact with God to fix his cursing by giving blessings to the people that he curses. So, for the sake of covering up for a few murderous, treacherous Sahabis, they have insulted the prophets, they have questioned the authority of hadiths, then they altered hadiths, all of that to protect people. What I say to modern Sunnis is don't be like your ancestors. Don't stand for a few Sahabis and destroy everything the religion stands for those. Know the truth. Al-Haq is one of God's names, and Al-Haq is true Islam, basically. So take true Islam from Quran, from hadiths, never listen to what specific people have said and done, and see where does it lead you. Does it lead you to following the sunnah of the mass murderers and the mass rapists that the prophets have cursed, such as Muawiyah, whom he said about La ashba' Allah batna? Or does it tell you Ali مع الحق والحق مع Ali. Ali is with the truth and the truth is with Ali. Follow that. Don't follow specific people for no reason. Follow the people whom the Prophet says that al-haq is with. And thank you.
There's another good point. But you mentioned a very good hadith attributed to
Amir
Amir
al-Mu'mineen,
al-Mu'mineen, alayhi salam. And there's another good one from him that I think I mentioned last episode, and I'll keep mentioning it. I always mention it. And it says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, you are to learn your deen, not inherit it.
There's also another one. There's also another one I really like from Abu Dhar al-Ghafari radiyallahu anhu. I'm pretty sure it's Abu Dhar. Sayyid Ali, correct me if I'm wrong. How he said the truth has left me with no friends.
Abu Dhar, please.
Abu Dhar al-Ghafari radiyallahu anhu. He said the truth has left me with no friends.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. Sayyid Ali,
I was going to say, if you're up for it, we can actually open up the platform for the viewers.
yeah, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? We can do a Q&A as well if anybody wants to send questions.
What I'm going to do is I'll share the link in the YouTube.
Right, you know what I reckon, Sayyid Ali, would be better, but I reckon we can do just a quick Q&A.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, let them just send their things on the chats. And Ryan...
do you want to wrap up quickly with this episode? I don't know if is there any final thoughts, anybody? I think, Brother Ahmed,
I think it's great that we leave there with what Brother Ahmed said, unless Sayyid Brother wants to say anything.
I just want to say one more thing, just like a quick summary. Like through this episode, we've seen the difference between Lanah and Sab. We've seen the narrations that Sayyid Ali has presented, I've presented, and Brother Ahmed has presented, from distortions of our hadith, from how the Prophet insulted other people, and how Sayyid Ahmed, as Ryan said, Sayyid Ahmed wrapped it up beautifully with his experience and his favorite hadith. So yeah, alhamdulillah, really, I think the show was really, really good. So alhamdulillah, inshallah, everybody benefits from this.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.